business to run over the top. Oh my God! It's Damian Dragon!
These are the W.O.W Tag Team titles. But as far as that federation goes, and its owner, you guys can lick my balls.
It's a fireball!
We're going DVD, MP3, STD.
Are they setting up? Loading up powerbomb from the top of the cage! To the top, jumping double stomp through the table! These fans are all on their feet. Sold out standing room only crowd here in Brooklyn, New York.
There's one more match from Joey.
There is no comparison to Warriors of Wrestling and any other indie federation I've ever wrestled for.
And there was a lot of buzz about Warriors of Wrestling. Man, there was nothing like it. I just knew that when I first came, the reaction that I got, the way that the fans got to the other talent there, I knew that this was the place that I want to call my new home.
You're a champion in this company. You need to take that as a responsibility. And he didn't understand that. And he told Joe that he was going to be late for his second title defense against Karloff, which was the big feud that we're banking on. You know, the irresistible force meets the immovable object. Joe said, "I don't need you anymore. Sorry."
When the ball was handed to me, definitely there was a sense of pride, but I was also scared.
They set the school on fire. Low-life scumbags do things like that.
They told me that the guys that we were wrestling, the white beaters, that were dangerous and everything.
These fucking fans are the best in the goddamn world.
We have a fan base, we actually have a following. The crowd actually cares for our product.
Leaving Warriors of Wrestling, it was a very hard decision. It was becoming something that was becoming a burden. It really wasn't fun anymore.
When somebody says I can't do it, or somebody says fuck Warriors, or fuck this, or fuck that, that's when I say, no, fuck you, asshole, and I'm gonna shove it down your throat. Well, I was trained by W.W. Hall of Famer, the unpredictable Johnny Rodz. I started wrestling in January of 1998 in Gleason's Gym, Brooklyn, New York. The story of how Warriors of Wrestling really began. If you want to go to the beginning, on what the seed was planted, there was a girl at Gleason's Gym named Tina Marina. Her name was Rosanna. Tina Marina was her ring name. And we were really close, really good friends. And one day there was this independent wrestling website called the Declaration of Independence, the DOI for short. Somebody put a picture up with a girl bent over with her ass showing, saying Tina Marina's hairy ass from W.W., which was Johnny's company. She seen this picture and asked Sean the Mick, who ran the site, who did this? And he said, well, I don't know who did it, but the IP address was traced back to Bricktown, New Jersey, where I live. She thought it was me. Why? I don't know. And it all spun out of control from there, where I asked Spartan at the time, who I was friends with, and he did all the stuff on the computer and all the videos, and I asked him, I said, can you find out what my IP address was? And he said, I don't know how to do that. Let me ask Matt Kaplan.
Spartan, who was very friendly with me at the time, sent me a text, and he asked me if I knew anything about like IP addresses and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, you know, what was the problem? So Joey had called me up and he said there was a website called the Declaration of Independence, or the DOI, which was run by a fat, sad, little pathetic man called the Mick. The Mick is, I think, 2 years older than me, but he looks to be about 40 because he has a drinking problem. And they had been putting up pictures of one of the female wrestlers Joey was friends with, and they were saying they had Joe's IP address and they knew it was him. So they posted the actual IP address and they said, this is Joe's IP address from Brick, New Jersey. And he gave me the IP address, he gave me his IP address. and used a couple of programs there on a search, and I said, Joe, it doesn't come up as Brick, New Jersey. It came up, I think, as Newark. I really don't remember. But I did some research, and a lot of the small towns over there in Jersey don't have separate servers for the providing company that does the internet and cable and all that. So he was able to prove that it wasn't him.
I remember there was a while back, there was a website called the Declaration of Independence that had a forum and a message board that was notorious, I mean, in the wrestling circles as being like, wrestlers fucking with each other, or like fans fucking with everyone just trying to mess with each other because it was the internet and you got anonymity. And I remember going around in the locker room at Gleason's, and there was this rumor that Joey B had posted pictures of another female wrestler that was on the roster. Again, I didn't know Joey from the next guy, but I mean, I personally didn't care. It's like, whatever, nudie pictures. But it was causing some kind of issue over there, and everyone was kind of getting really pissed off. And my former tag partner, and at the time was a close friend of mine, Matt, Joe jumped on with him because Matt is an internet guy, which I'm sure I'll jump into later. And Matt was able to trace the IP address and kind of push the whole idea of, it wasn't Joey, it wasn't coming from Brick, New Jersey, which is where they all said it was. But nobody at Gleason's really gave a shit about that because they just wanted a fucking scapegoat for all this.
Yeah, so just all this like bullshit reasons. Like, I felt as a 14-year-old, I was mature enough to say, look, Joey had nothing to do with it, and why is it anyone's business what he posts in a forum if he even did do it? And everyone just, on a slight notice, just turned against him. Guys that he felt were his friends, were his brothers, that you share a wrestling locker room with people, you have this bond. And they all just turned it in because Johnny said he was bad.
So a few of the people at Gleason's, Johnny Rodz, W.W, decided to all attack me all over the place. People that were friends of mine, people that had been to my house, people who I consider really good friends. And I went into Johnny's office one day. I said, you know what? I go, you got your guys here, and girl Slim Jenkins, another skank whore. They all have something to say. I said, I'm just letting you know that there's going to be an issue here. Oh, don't worry about it. I'll talk to him. You've been here so long. Time went on, and Johnny started bad-mouthing me. Okay, so he started taking me off shows.
So, at that point, it was them kicking Joe out, or rather, not using Joe, and Joe wanted to run his own show. It's like, you're not going to use me? Okay, I'm going to run my own show, and I'm going to shove it up your ass.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to show you how to run a show, and because his shows are horrible. They're supposed to start at 8 o'clock. They would start at 9. They would end at 1 o'clock in the morning. There would be one guy tagging up with one guy wrestling against one guy one week, then tagging up with him the next. There was no storylines. There was no continuity. It was, if you sell tickets, you're a champion. It was just god-awful wrestling. It was horrible, and I knew I could do a better job, and I did.
We started talking about how we felt most of the guys at Gleason's were just assholes, and most of them couldn't work, and he wanted to get out of there and maybe try to run a company. Running a company was really hard idea. I told him that I didn't think it was going to work unless we dedicated 150% to it. So that's pretty much how Warrior started. Was a couple of guys at Gleason's tried to prank Joe, and I helped him prove that he didn't do it. And then I started getting a lot of stuff from the guys that were there. One of the wrestlers messaged me, I think it was MySpace back then, and he had said that I burned my bridge with all the veterans at Gleason's, which I thought was weird because you would never stay in college for 20 years and say you're a veteran of college. So I don't understand why guys who are at a school for pro wrestling for like 10 years would say they were veterans. I would just call them guys that weren't good enough to leave. Johnny Rodz is a liar and a very bad person. And what he would do is, he had a lot of guys that were good. Jason Cross was there at the time, and Cross, even before he got to the level he's at now, Cross was a phenomenal worker. But to wrestle on Johnny Rodz' shows, you had to sell tickets. A lot of the older guys, though, that would basically sit in Johnny's office and stroke him all day long, like Juan Jeremy and those guys, they could do whatever they want. They would wrestle sometimes 2-3 times on a show with a mask on, all these crazy gimmicks. And you'd have guys like Spartan. A lot of those guys were getting bad matches because they just didn't sell tickets. So after that debacle with the DOI, Joe said to me, we could start a company. Why don't we just use the guys that we like and the guys we know work well? And I said, all right, we'll do that. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. It was Johnny got really angry because Johnny's thing is, if you work with Johnny, he has to make money off of you. If you're taking indie bookings, he wants a cut of it. If you're starting a company, he wants a cut of it.
What happened was I had no place to go. I just couldn't go there no more because once they started attacking me, if anybody knows me knows you're going to attack me, I'm going to attack you right back. And I did, and I just kept going at it. A lot of people, they were fed up with the way Johnny treated them. If you weren't one of the in crowd, which I was part of, you just were pushed aside, you were abused, whatever.
And, again, Matt was close with Joe, and we were tag partners. Like, we're in? Yeah. I mean, I wasn't working any independent dates. I was, green as goose shit. And there was a bunch of us. Spartan, Jason Cross, and Matt. There was another guy, Spartan's tag partner, little Mikey, who had signed up for the show and said that he was going to do it, and then at the last minute pulled out because Johnny promised him a WWE tryout when he turned 18, which we're still waiting on. 5 years later this company is. But it was a whole bunch of us, and we were like, yeah, I mean, I just wanted an opportunity. I was very naive in terms of my experience in wrestling. I came into Gleason's thinking, I'm going to do this for a year, and then I'm going to just do all the independence that I can, because that's what wrestling was to me, apparently. Johnny had a very different view of things. Johnny wanted you to stay with him and only work with him and only do things with him. And he would tell you all because, you can't go out there, you can't learn anything else out there. When in reality it was, you're paying your gym dues to Johnny every month, and you're going to be there, and you're bringing people to his shows to make him money. It's a smart business idea, but, when I actually want to go beyond just working the same 3 guys, it wasn't doing anything for me.
And it just it made me realize at a young age, I'm like, wow, this is just in an instant, things could change for the dumbest of reasons. And then from Gleason's looking at it now, if I would have stayed there, I'm happy I didn't, because the way it goes now, that I talk to people there now and just see the way it's operated, it's not something I wanted to be a part of. When I was a kid, I got the glimpse, and I'm surprised that still people didn't get the glimpse of that.
The name Warriors of Wrestling came from actually the Irish Bruiser. What happened was Irish Bruiser came back into the fold. I think he got a hold of somebody at Gleason's, and I got wind of it, and I was like, you know what, I know the Bruiser well. I've known him since I started back in 1998. He added me on MySpace, and I went to his page just to check it out, and he had a picture of the movie The Warriors. And I was like, that's the name of our company, Warriors of Wrestling, because we were looking for a name for a while. Couldn't come up with anything. I mean, we had Atomic this and all kinds of bullshit. But as soon as I seen the picture of The Warriors, and then classic movie, I was like, that's us. Because if you remember the movie The Warriors, they were a gang of guys. They went to the Bronx for some type of meeting, and they got blamed for something they didn't do, and everybody was after them, and they had to make it back home. That was us. We were the Misfits of Wrestling. We were the Warriors of Wrestling.
When he called me, I was actually watching the movie The Warriors, and I had it on pause. And he had said to me, he goes, what do you think of Warriors? And I said, I'm actually watching The Warriors right now. A couple of guys, if you've never seen the movie, there's a couple of guys in a gang, they go to the Bronx, and they're on their way back. I said, that's kind of like us. A couple of guys, everyone's basically out, they don't really like us because we're doing our own thing and all that. So I said, that's a pretty cool idea. Warriors of Wrestling. I agree with it. I didn't see any other companies with that name. The Warriors of Wrestling logo is actually a funny story. I was sitting with my friend Dan, and he does a lot of graphic art design and stuff like that. And I said, Dan, we need a cool logo. So I said, maybe we get something like a fist. So we found a white power Nazi website, and it had a fist. And I was like, this knuckle was like the swastika, this one was the cross, this one was whatever, all this stuff. So we took the fist and we colored it in, we took out all the Nazi paraphernalia on it, and he took a picture of broken glass, put it in front of the fist, and that was the shirt. That was the Warriors logo, was the fist of the glass.
We couldn't run in New York because of the athletic commission. We had to get a license. We didn't know if we were going to do a show, do 2 shows, whatever. So I said, all right, let's find a building in New Jersey.
The first show, I probably called 30 buildings. I called Elks Lodges, VFW halls, everything. And this was around the time where Chris Benoit had killed his family, so a lot of places were not renting to pro wrestling. There was a spot in South River. They didn't care what we did. We could have went in there and could have thrown an orgy. As long as we paid the bill, they were cool about what we did.
South River, New Jersey, the VFW hall. I'll never forget. I went on Labor Day weekend, and I deposit down, and we were going to run December 1st, 2007 was going to be our first show. And you know, I got with Kaplan, and I said, you know, let's get some guys together. I'll get some guys, you get some guys. MySpace was a thing at the time. Facebook wasn't as popular yet. And Kaplan went and he got the guys from Gleason's that were tired of being abused by the in crowd. Jason Cross, Logan Black, Spartan, The Voice, Angelos Valken, All-Star Lou, the Sunset Saints were there, and I had my guys. I had, you know, Smooth Operator Mike Gallagher, who in my opinion was the best wrestler over there. Tim Arson, he also did the zombie gimmick on the WWE version of ECW. Pete Simmons and Mike Inferno, two other guys. They're supposed to come in as a tag team and wrestle me and Jay Reynolds, the Wife Beaters. Then we started putting it on MySpace. You know, we got a wrestling company started.
My former partner Tony Torres, he told me about Warriors of Wrestling, and I said, how do you hear about those guys? He said MySpace.
This is Antonio Rivera, and this is Tony Torres, and we both collectively are Latin Revolution. We're here in Warriors of Wrestling.
I was like, really, MySpace? I said, fine, let's do it. He said there's no owners. They opened up the promotion because they were tired of Johnny Rodz and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, I guess that's their problem, that's a personal problem, but I guess we could try it.
Then it was guys that I used to train with, Chris Cartagena, the Irish Bruiser, Red Young, who was going to be our referee, and B.A. Kid, who I haven't spoken to in a while.
Joey called me one day out of work. I was at work and he called me, told me what was going on with the Warriors and if I wanted to be a part of it. I knew Rodz wasn't happy about it, he told me, and I knew Joey for years before that. We were very good friends, and we are good friends still, and I never thought it was a bad decision. You know Joey, and he puts his mind to something. When he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. So I knew it was the right thing to do.
Damien Dragon texted me, and along with him came Jason Karloff.
I first heard about Warriors of Wrestling through Damien Dragon. He called me up one day and he said that his friend Joe from Gleason's Gym was starting up his own promotion and they're going to be run out of South River, New Jersey. He said, hit them up on MySpace, send them your resume for you and John Cannon, who's my tag partner, and try to get work there.
And that's basically the first show where that came from. All guys from different places. Damien brought guys, Kaplan brought guys, I got guys, and
a lot of the guys were very excited. For a lot of them, it was their first show not in Gleason's.
The first show, a whole new locker room of people I never met before, which is not what I was used to because I only stayed in the school where I wrestled at.
It's scary because there's a lot of money put up.
I had a few dollars just to cover the building deposit. And, you know, I scrounged up a few dollars here and there. I think Kaplan paid for Sonny.
And we had Sonny. I said, we should get one name. I said, I don't want to spend $3,000 and bring in, like, Vader or something because it's a big risk and no one really knows us and we haven't really gotten our name out there yet.
Nobody got paid the first show. That was the thing. Is you want to recommend the first show, if we do a second one, you'll get paid. The first one, we didn't have the money.
But about 2 weeks before the show, Tim Arson was going to come on and be the ECW zombie, and Timmy and Joey were friends. Timmy was at his wedding. Joey was at Timmy's wedding, excuse me. They were friends for a good 10 years. So Tim said, don't worry about it. It's your first show. You're trying to build something up. You don't even have to pay me. I'll come help you out. I'll do you a favor. You're my friend. About 2 weeks before the show, Joe calls me up and he goes, Timmy decided that he wants to get paid money. He thinks he's better than everybody on the show. Everybody worked the first show for free. Joe said, I just can't pay you guys. If you want to come in and you want to help me out, help build something, we can do it. If not, I can't use you. We just don't have the money for it right now. Second show, third show, we'll do right by the guys. Timmy thought he was better than everyone, and I don't remember how much he wanted, but he wanted a good chunk of change. And you know, it just kind of screwed everything up 2 weeks out. You know, Joe's not a rich guy. He works a regular job like everybody else. So he had stretched his budget thin. Right then and there, I knew, I said, this is going to be one of those guys. There's always going to be a problem.
The first show didn't go off smoothly. And as we go on, you'll notice that no show in Warriors Wrestling goes off smoothly. What happened was, we didn't have a ring at the time, obviously. I rented it from Gino Caruso from ECPW, who does ring rentals. That's how he makes his money. You know, put the order, sent him the deposit. He said, all right, my guys will be there at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock comes, no ring.
6 o'clock. No ring. All right, we'll start warming up everything for the hot dogs. We'll start putting all this out.
7 o'clock comes. Meanwhile, I'm calling this guy. He's saying, don't worry, they'll be there. Then he stopped answering me. I was like, holy shit, what are we going to do? This is our first show. Doors open. Now we got people coming in. We're filling up the place. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't have mats on the floor.
The first show was scary, just because in the fact that the ring didn't get to the show till about 7, I would say about 7:15. The show was starting at 8. And I've said this before where, you know, we didn't like have a cohesive locker room at that time. Everybody was meeting each other for the first time. All the boys in the back came out and helped together. From about 6 to 7 o'clock, I thought, oh shit, is this gonna be a failure? But once the ring came and everybody helped out and we got it together, I knew that was the only thing that was missing, was the ring.
7:30 comes along, and boom, the ring truck shows up, and the whole locker room empties to go set it up, which is a testament to the unity of the locker room, despite it being the first show. I think everybody was kind of excited because the house was packed. Everybody really wanted to make the best of this. And again, later you find out the IWF guys had something to prove, the Gleason's guys had something to prove, the Gleason's old guard had something to prove. Everybody was there to prove something. So everybody stepping in and doing everything they could to get that ring up before the 8 o'clock bell time. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I can't think of any other company that would do that.
This is how I knew I had something special right from the get-go. Granted, the names changed, but that ring pulled up the whole locker room. Except for like stars like Damien Dragon. Came out and set that ring up. And the show was supposed to start at 8 o'clock. We started at 8 o'clock. Ian Price came out. He was our ring announcer at the time. They welcomed everybody there, and we were up and running.
I was really excited. It was me and Matt against Lou and Spartan. Spartan still to this day remains one of my best friends in wrestling. I was very close at the time. So it was an opportunity to have a match where I knew that I was in there with people I could trust. I could do anything with these guys, and we were going to go out there and say, this is what we're capable of doing.
And they teamed me up with All-Star Lou. So it was the first time I teamed with him, going up against Jake and Kaplan, which was guys I trained with, which, you know, it was fine. I got along with them. I trained with them Saturdays. We're looking forward to it. So I was excited to wrestle. I think the draw was pretty good. We had about 100, 120 for our first show. I was pumped. I was like, yeah, I felt like it started.
I knew it would be a success, and after the first show, I definitely knew that we were doing something right if we just kept doing it.
We booked it with storylines just in case there was a second show, but I didn't think about it. I just wanted to prove to Johnny Rodz that I could do a show better than him. And at the end of the night, I did. When it came time for the second show, we knew we like I said, we set up storylines just in case there was going to be a second show. And I was going to use everybody that worked for me the first show, I would use again, just because out of respect to them for doing it for me, you know, on the arm or whatever you want to say it is. I know Vince Steele didn't make the second show. Jason Gotti, who was just downright awful and a goddamn jackass. I didn't want him to come back. We brought in Lindsay Dorado and Vin Gerard from Chicago. Put on a hell of a match at Cold Fury. But as I said before, Warriors Wrestling shows don't go off without a hitch. The second show, February 8th, 2008. Pull into South River early because we had the building the whole day. Got there at noon. We're driving up to the building. First off, the street lights are off. I'm on the phone. I think it was either with Kaplan or Jake, and I'm like, street lights, let me call you back. Hung up, got to the building. There's no power. All right. Whole half of that town is out. 3 o'clock, we have no power in the building. The lady who runs the bar at the W.O.W. is like, look, she's like, if we don't have power within the next 45 minutes, I gotta shut this building down. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Now the ring's here. Now they showed up on time this time.
The second show of Warriors Wrestling was very hectic. It was nothing like I had ever experienced before because I had never been on the indies. I was very young. I was only, I still think I might have been 16 years old. So when I got there, it was really late. It was maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, and we still didn't have power to the building. So the first time that I meet Joey outside of that one training experience that we had together was typical Joe Bellini going crazy over things that he can't control. So the power to the building already had Joe frantic, and here's Kaplan trying to introduce me to Joe. And it was pretty much Matt going, hey Joe, this is James, he's going to be our ref. Get him situated. Do something. Bring him inside.
The lights start flashing. And I'm like, thank God. We got back to the lights. The lights were on, the power was on. Ring was getting set up, and thank God, because that show, we kicked ass. I mean, we had a packed house.
These are the W.W.W Tag Team titles. But as far as that federation goes, and its owner, you guys can lick my balls.
The original main event was supposed to be a TLC match between the Sunset Saints and Juan Jeremy and Dreamcaster. They were a bunch of ticket sellers. They were young guys that could do backflips and all that shit, but they couldn't work. And they really didn't care about anybody but themselves.
The tag champions we had in our first show wrestled another tag team, 2 teams from Gleason's. And one of their guys got injured, and they decided to all of them pull out of the show because they didn't want to work anybody but themselves.
So they only wanted to work each other because I guess they were afraid they would get hurt because they really didn't know what they were doing. And it wasn't evident until they decided not to do that show.
So we didn't have tag champions. And I don't know if this was Joe saying, fuck it, just go with it, or Kaplan weaseling his way into the political game, which either way it worked. But our match was changed from a death match, which wouldn't have been the main event during the first show. Their TLC match would have been. But ours was now a TLC death match.
For the tag team titles, I'm like, wow, now I went from just happy to wrestle, now I'm main eventing a show in a TLC death match. Way in over my head.
You know, we killed each other, and the 4 of us really cared about the company, so we went out, Logan Black, went into the barbed wire board, I got scarred up from some of the barbed wire, thumbtacks, all this crazy shit.
We had to pick up the slack. And I think we more than did, at least at the time, in terms of what the company could have done. I mean, everyone thought the match was great right afterwards. And it meant a lot to me to be given that ball. It was, I mean, I had a fucking tag, but I was a tag champion somewhere. It mattered. Like, oh shit, people are actually paying to watch wrestling, and I have the belt in this company.
The death match with the American Nightmare, Kaplan and Logan Black versus Spartan and All-Star Lou. It was just an incredible card. And again, setting up storylines for the third show.
Johnny from the get-go said, this will be one show, that's it. It's one and done, Joe can't run this. And then when it was 2 shows, I guess, you know, Johnny kind of got the message like, oh, this is going. So the pressure got deeper. I remember after that February show, we had done a show over at Gleason's, and one of the guys who came to all the shows, and he was related to someone on the roster, and he pulled me over, he goes, yo, I saw the music video you guys put out for that last show. You guys are fucking crazy with that death match. It was awesome, man.
After the third show, we did the War Games. We had the cage, and you know, not many people doing cage matches on the indies. I don't think they do it now, except for us. We had a really healthy house, really good house, and the bullshit between Warriors of Wrestling and Johnny Rodz was really getting out of control. On the DOI that I previously mentioned, and you know, me going after him and him attacking me.
All the heat that, you know, I had in the locker room, the people not wanting to talk to me, being put on against like the greenest of green guys, which again, we're all trying to learn, but you know that when you're put in there against somebody who has no business even lacing up a pair of shoes, that's someone telling you they don't give a shit. And I got that. But again, my loyalty remained to Johnny. He was my trainer, and it was all there. I mean, I started there, I had friends there, but after a while, it was just, you couldn't escape the kind of heat they put on you for pretty much nothing.
And guys from Gleason's basically came down to a choice where you had to work at Gleason's or you were working at Warriors. And a lot of escapades started from that.
The thing that really bothered Johnny about myself was that I was helping these rebels, these renegades, and I was his neighbor. He thinks that he went out on a whim for me with the price that he gave me, or him helping, whatever he thinks.
And as time progressed and all this stuff, Johnny doesn't want to book Matt and I anymore. Well, honestly, Johnny didn't want to book Matt for a long time. Matt had like a nuclear heat over there, because you know, I was nice, he was an asshole, and it works. You know, now I kind of know that shit works. But nobody liked him over there, and I kind of caught that heat. So when Johnny decided to stop booking me completely, you know, that was okay. Like, it's about time that now I shove this up his ass.
So after the second show for Warriors, after I did my reffing, I guess word got back to Johnny that I had betrayed him or what have you. So he actually came to my house and spoke to my mother without me being there, and told her of this terrible man, Joe Bellini, and how vengeful he is and just how terrible this guy is. And my mother didn't like that very much, so she was very hesitant on Warriors of Wrestling.
My loyalty was with Johnny because that was the guy who brought me to the dance, or at least helped to bring me to the dance. But there was something about Warriors that, again, it was a brotherhood from the get-go. So I had a home there, and I knew I had a home, and I knew that I wasn't going to stop working for Joe, no matter what Johnny said, because Johnny had pulled the plug on a few guys.
Johnny basically told his guys, either you work at Gleason's or you work at Warriors. So at the time, Mike Smooth Operator Gallagher was the Warriors of Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. And Johnny said to him, if you work for them, you cannot wrestle for me. You won't be allowed to train here, nothing. Even though everyone at Johnny's has a lifetime contract, you cannot work for them and come play in the ring at Gleason's.
And Johnny Rodz told his guys, Smooth, Pete, Timmy, that you can't wrestle for Joey B anymore, or if you wrestle for Joey B anymore, you can't be here. And they quit. And Smooth Operator was my heavyweight champion, and he walked out.
Smooth was a guy, again, from the get-go in Gleason's who I liked training with him. He had a very old-school style. He was in great shape. He was a guy I felt should have been on TV.
He always had this arrogance about him. Just, I don't know if he felt like he was better than everyone, if he was living his gimmick, if that's just the way he was, I'm not sure. But it definitely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Well, Smooth Operator, he's a talented wrestler. I haven't heard from him or seen him wrestle in the recent years, but when I was at Gleason's, he was like the top guy there. And Joey brought him on. He had a very old school style. He was, good conditioning. He had a look. He was good in promos. So he was a perfect fit for our first champion, especially because he's someone Joey felt comfortable with, knowing for all those years from Gleason's. But the thing with Smooth, I think he took it to his head a little bit. Like at school shows at Gleason's, he'd be showing up in a limo that he paid for. And, he's like the champion of a school show, and he's acting like he's the world champion, which, I mean, have fun, but if, he's paying all that money for himself, and he's trying to give off the fact that he's not, it's kind of weird. So I think in his head, he almost was trying too hard to be that world champion at a school show.
He was our first heavyweight champion. This was the guy that, he could pull out some good matches. He had a very old school style to him. I knew him from training at Johnny Rodz, so I've known him for a while, and I didn't think that Smooth would be the type of guy that, we're building the first year around him. And remember, as the summertime came, he just disappeared.
Here he is, screwing over a guy who gave him an opportunity to be a champion in a company that mattered. And it still sticks with me now, because it was one of those things where, why? I would never give this opportunity up. I don't care how long I've been wrestling. If a guy wants to put a belt on me, that's him trusting me to be able to produce for him. And there's Smooth just throwing it away.
Mike and Joey were friends. I wasn't as closely knit with Joe at the time yet, so I am not 100% sure on the story. I can just say that as someone who was in the company, someone who was reffing, someone who had some emotion invested into this company, that it sucked, man. It was definitely something that no one wanted to see happen.
This is a classic example of giving something to someone who doesn't deserve it, because here he was, he had it, and he never came back. He never faced the locker room. He never had the decency to come apologize. Everybody here was busting their ass, and he just decided to never show back up.
So Mike, Timmy, Pete, maybe one other person decided that they were going to stay with Johnny Rodz. Even though they had been there, Mike I think was 10 years, Timmy had been there for 10 years, Pete a couple of years, because I think Pete started a little after me. They were going to stay with Johnny. Even though he never got them bookings outside, he never paid them a penny, they were going to stay there. And we brought in Steve Carino to specifically work Smooth. He said, I'd like to work Steve Carino, I think it'd be a good match. He even offered to pay for it, but Joe said, no, I'm the boss, I'll take care of that. and then we got Carino, and then Smooth decided that he was going to go stay with Johnny Rodz, who never done anything for him.
This is the time where everything really started going downhill. It was our fourth show, attendance was bad. I had that jerk off Tim Arson going on all kinds of websites trashing me, saying we drew like shit. Now, many other indie companies would love to have 50 people. Ace, who was supposed to be such a great company, I think they drew 20. But we drew, it was hot out that day. And you know, June has always been a rough month. So right after June, everything downward spiral. And it came to the point where I said, well, do I do another show where we're not gonna draw and lose my pants again? Or, you know, or do we keep going? And I decided to keep going.
Just surviving alone was hard enough, but now we had to survive without champion, without guys that we built up for the last 3 shows.
The 5th show, we decided to bring Steve Carino, and we had no champion. So I went through my roster and I looked at who could I put this belt on. I spoke with BA and everybody decided, well, Damien Dragon is probably the best bet. We did Steve Carino versus Damien Dragon, and Damien beat Carino, became our new champion. And this is really the show where we started pushing all the new guys. Jason Cross started getting pushed. The Voice started getting pushed.
The stars like Jason Cross had to step up just because we needed a spot, and that without that opportunity, I can't even imagine what he'd be doing now. Guys like that saw that, all right, if we're not going to have the guys that were at top there, then it's time we take those top spots for ourselves. And I think it worked out fun. It gave everyone motivation to do better, to say, you know what, I could do it, he did, fuck them, it's all about us now. And I think Joey was the prime advocate of that mentality.
Building new talent is probably the most important thing for an indie company.
You know, David Calypso was the No Limits champion. Chris Banks was starting to, to build himself up.
They gave me a shot, which I'm up to this day very thankful for, because at that time, nobody knew who I was and nobody wanted to give me that chance, and Warriors took the risk with me.
By really building our own guys and saying, you don't know who these guys are, well now you do, and they're gonna wow the shit out of you. That's one of the core things, and I know Joe is still big on that today, and I think that's what's going to happen in the future, is constantly building his own guys. Taking guys other places don't want, making them stars here.
I was trying to find a place other than the former promotion that I was working for, I would say for 4 years. So I was looking for something different. I was looking for something that I could do on my own. And Warriors of Wrestling allowed me to expand my gimmick.
I hear people talking and wondering, what's the No Limit division? Then you got these smart marks, American know-it-alls, who says, oh, that's the Warriors of Wrestling's way of ripping off the X division or the Cruiserweight division. Well, you're wrong. Let me explain to you assholes what's the No Limit division. You see it, you climb it, you jump off of it. It's solid, it's heavy, it's hard, you use it. You hit him, he bleeds, you open up the cut. The ref tries to stop the match, you kick his ass. There's no limit, anything goes till a man gives up, or there's a 1, 2, 3.
Well, the idea for the No Limits title came about, we needed a secondary belt. We had a heavyweight, we had a tag team, but we have all those other guys. You need another belt. We didn't want to do an Intercontinental Championship or U.S. Champion because we didn't wrestle all over the U.S. or all over the continent. We needed something different, so we figured, it doesn't matter if it's a guy, it's a girl, fat, skinny, heavyweight, cruiserweight, whatever. Anybody can compete for this belt, no rules.
The No Limits division has a lot of stuff to bring to the table. We've got a lot of different guys with a lot of different styles. There's always something to look forward to with a No Limits division match, whether it be straight lucha libre, hardcore, classic mat wrestling.
It brings wrestling, but it also brings a brawling. It brings a hardcore. It brings lucha. It culminates everything into one and says, "Here, go do what you do best."
There's no limits. You can see wrestling, you can see hardcore, you can see blood, you can see barbed wire.
They can easily steal the show with a No Limits title match, easily. So yeah, that title is very respected. I respect the hell out of that division.
And I think that's why Banks was Mr. No Limits, because he really did do that. And he brought hardcore. He brought a lucha style. He brought real wrestling. And I think that's why the division has done as well as it has.
So at Championship Chaos 2008, the first one, we had a match. I believe it was Jason Cross, Chris Banks, Dave Calypso, and some other guys I guess aren't important enough to even remember. David Calypso became the first No Limits champion. But No Limits division had it all, whether it be blood, guts, violence, or technical wrestling. No Limits division, we've had a hell of the guys in it. Awesome.
And then we moved on to the show Shockwave, where the main event for that show was supposed to be The Voice versus Rockin' Rebel in a Flaming Tables match. Again, at this time, Kaplan's booking. So a lot of his ideas come from ECW. I was a huge ECW fan. I was too at the time. So to my knowledge, this all made sense. The gimmick matches, big gimmick match, main event. It was great. And again, it made sense. We did an angle where Rebel threw fire in the Voice's face. Voice cuts a promo, which now is in our blooper reel because it's fucking tremendous. But we had this whole thing up, and we went to the VFW hall and put up the sign that said Flaming Tables. And the fire marshal called the building and was like, "You've got to be kidding me." So boom, that match is canceled. Can't do it. So Kaplan, in his infinite wisdom, decides, well, I got it. Let's do a three-way hardcore clusterfuck. The Canucks versus Lou and Spartan versus, me and Matt.
And this match was a complete disaster. There was fucking tables being broken, and we would do that all the time. But it was just a garbage match, barbed wire, for no reason.
No sense, no background, no anything. It was, in his mind, it was a way to kind of give the people the blood and guts that they wanted to see in that Flaming Tables match. But the fucking truth of the matter is, he wanted another main event. He wanted to bleed again. He wanted to use weapons because he couldn't fucking hack it anywhere else. I mean, that's the absolute truth.
The videotape just ran out at the end. We don't have this match. We don't have the ending of this match. If you buy the DVD, you get the match. You don't get the ending.
At the end of the night, Joe's pissed off because we went long and the camera didn't pick it all up, and he had the perfect reason to be upset about it. That DVD goes out with Spartan selling in the corner because we had to have that match on the show in the main event, taking up 40 minutes.
I went in that locker room and I screamed, and I think somebody, I don't know who said it, somebody went, yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. And who the fuck said that screaming? I went nuts. And I guess that was too much for Matt Kaplan, and he quit.
2 days after, I got a call from Matt. He goes, "Hey, come outside." He lives in my neighborhood. Come outside, and starts to pulls me over. He goes, "Listen, I'm done with wrestling. I can't do it anymore." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I can't deal with it. I can't deal with the bullshit. I can't deal with the politics. I can't deal with, people not appreciating this and that. I'm done."
Horwood's not very big. He lives maybe, I think it was like 10 blocks from me. So I walked over to his house, we had a conversation. And I said, I was thinking about it, I really don't want to do this anymore. I know we're supposed to have the match at the 1 year. I said, but you have a month and a half, just come up with some reason why I'm not there, or just do a single match with them, just whatever. He's like, no, just do the one match, and then we'll write you off after the 1 year. If you lose or leave town or something. Stick on it. I said, all right, I'll think about it.
I'm like, dude, you say this all the time. Just stick it out. It's fine. No, I'm officially done. That was my last show. Never doing wrestling ever again. I'm like, and again, business-minded. At least finish the feud, do the next show, and then we're done. Let them injure you. You'll be gone for good. That's fine with me. No, I'm not going to do that. Fuck Joe. I'm not doing that for Joe. It's not for Joe. You're doing it for me. You're my friend, Matt. No, I can't do that for you. Fuck Joe. I'm not doing anything for him.
And, I said to Logan, I said, just do me one favor, don't say anything to Joe, let me think about it, and then you'll know before I tell anybody else. And by the time I get home, 10 minutes later, he already told him that I want to leave and all that, and then it was kind of too late. And then I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to leave. A lot of guys weren't happy when I left, and I got some stuff I got blamed for I did, some stuff I got blamed for I didn't do. I mean, it's all irrelevant now. But, it was one of those hard decisions, but, I definitely think I made the right one. And, I felt that he had stabbed me in the back. And if I was going to go out, why was I going to go out of my way to help someone that I didn't think was trying to help me?
I believe there's still a grudge between him and I because he goes, "Don't tell Joe any of this." Well, in my head, now I've got a show that I'm a part of, because at this point, Joe had kind of brought me on to do not necessarily booking, like I talked to them about booking, but it was mainly Joe and Matt. But I was doing characters, I had thought up Maximus Sex Power. to give to another guy from Gleason's, and I was kind of understanding the character development there and all that. So I was in with Joe, and I immediately called him up. And, you know, I look back on it, was I a stooge? Yeah, I was kind of a stooge, but I'm not about to fuck the company over that is sitting there and giving me opportunity after opportunity just because a guy wants to spite him. Like, I didn't know when Matt was going to tell Joe. Matt might not have told him. Who knows? But I wasn't about to do that. And there's still a grudge there, and I hold no, like, there's no issue with me feeling like I did something wrong.
After he called Joe to say I was thinking of leaving, even though I asked him not to, I knew then that it was time to go.
Additionally, at Shockwave, again, Matt had gotten pissed off at Joe kind of, standing up for shit. Matt's cockamamie booking just like gimmick match after gimmick match with no purpose, and hardcore and death matches and not wanting to do jobs here and there. And Matt got tired of it, again, no patience, and said, I'm not doing video editing anymore. So Damien Dragon, being the incredible opportunist he is, jumps on top of this and says, I got a guy who does video editing.
Damien Dragon, who is one of the biggest losers, Damien's a nice guy, but it's just, man, grow up. You know, just, there's a time in life where you have to become an adult, and I don't think Damien ever hit.
So in comes this guy, Mike, who had come in, and he did a good job like presenting himself. He had the curtains to perform promos in front of. He had nicer cameras than we did. He wanted to do everything, as it seems, in a more professional light.
I think his name is Mike Sands. I'm just going to call him Bitch Tits because I don't remember his name, and he's a fat slob, and I hope he dies. Bitch Tits, in his infinite wisdom, when he's editing the DVDs, we used to use the mini DVDs, the little discs like this big, the mini DVDs, the discs are about this big. He just throws them into his Mac. The Mac doesn't have a disc tray, just like the hole in the side of it, so he takes it and just throws it in, and he doesn't know how to get it out. So he takes a screwdriver or whatever it was, grabs it, pulls the disc out. And then in his infinite wisdom, you know what he does? Sticks it back in to try to see if it'll work. This is what we were dealing with.
The issue was had about as much wrestling business sense as, anybody else off the fucking street. This guy didn't know what he was doing. He was directing promos, but didn't necessarily know how to direct promos. He was getting guys in the ring, doing things. He was all over the place and didn't really necessarily know how to do what he was doing.
And Joe was really pissed, and I don't know, it was bad. It was bad. It was all Damien's fault, because he said the guy knew what he was doing and he was competent, and he wasn't. And Damien really just wanted him in because he wanted to turn him into his manager or something like that. And then that's when I knew that Damien was just a jerk off.
The most important thing that killed him was the fact that after every show, Joe would put out a music video. It kind of showed all the clips from the shows, and it would also help us to sell DVDs. Because people saw this, they were like, oh, this looks good, let me buy this. We started ripping footage, and Mike's bothering this guy. Mike, I need the music video. Yeah, I'm working on it. Mike, yeah, I'm working on it. And now this is like a week later, and we'd have this done within a week. And Joe's like, what are you doing? And he's like, all right, I got it. And he sends it to him, and it's piss poor, half-assed. Again, in a highlight video, you want to see power bombs, you want to see the highlights. What is this guy doing? Push-offs, arm drag. And not just one arm drag, arm drag. Arm drag, arm drag. The first minute and a half of the video was fucking arm drags. Joe's like, I'm done. Give me the shit back. I'm making it myself. And that's when Spartan took over editing the videos. Kaplan refused to finish off that last show, the 1-year anniversary show, which again was a big milestone for us because we weren't supposed to last one show, and here we are 1 year later. Everyone is really proud. Everyone's really happy. And he's refusing to do this. We again had the main event of that show in the big blow-off, American Nightmare versus B.A. Kid and Chris Cartagena, which was like the only angle we had done up to that point that really made incredible sense.
As we set up the feud with him and Logan, and because they jumped B.A. and B.A. was turning face, and so now I'm out. The guy for the main event match for our 1-year anniversary show, Final Solution, the name that he came up with, I didn't.
Joe comes to me, he's like, I got this guy, Dirtbag Dan.
I first heard of Warriors of Wrestling through MySpace back in 2007. It was a new company that started. And at the time I was wrestling just about everywhere else. I'm like, let me give it a shot. It was local. It was right near me. So I contacted the guy, Joey B, and told him I was a local wrestler, wanted to come be a part of your first show. He's like, sure, come on down. And so I agreed to come down to the first show. But at the time, this other company I was working for wasn't too thrilled that someone was stepping on their territory. So wanted me to go down and flyer their parking lot. So it's like, do I not flyer the parking lot and lose out on one company, or do I go and wrestle and lose? So I did neither. And Warriors Wrestling wanted no part of me at that time then, and the other company didn't want anything to do with me because I couldn't help them.
And at the beginning, I was opposed to it because anybody in the Northeast Indies can tell you Dirtbag Dan doesn't have the greatest reputation.
I first got my shot at Warriors, my first match, first show, at their 1-year anniversary. After not being with them for almost a year, I was contacted for a fill-in spot for one match, and I thought, shit, here's my chance. I burned a bridge. Let me do good. So I go, I show up. It was a main event match, so I'm thinking, all right, maybe they like me, or maybe they just want to kill me in this match.
He did his part of the match. He kicked ass, did what he had to do, and it worked out. And I love, to this day, I absolutely love Dan. Dan I consider one of my closest friends.
Good show. It was a lot of fun. I kind of thought it was going to be a one-and-done moment. Like, thanks for coming, thanks for filling the spot, see you later. And it wasn't. They had me back again and again.
Certainly not deserving of the reputation that I had heard of in the past. But that's what brought Dirtbag Dan in. And I mean, I used to get asked a lot, who do you prefer, Dirtbag Dan or Kaplan? And I mean, it's a no-brainer. Dirtbag Dan is my boy. He's a guy who goes about things the right way, who knows what this business is about, how to treat the business, and never does anything for himself. He's a company man.
I loved it. It was a family, and that's what wrestling is. It's a giant family.
And in January of 2009, Warriors Wrestling debuted in Staten Island, New York.
The first show in year 2 was interesting. Again, this is the first show where I'm officially the booker. I had taken all the ideas for the 1-year anniversary show and kind of left them as they were booked, and I was like, this year 2, this Staten Island show, this is mine.
We went into Staten Island, I think we had well over almost 300 people. Big Apple beatdown. Matt Kaplan showed up at this show as a hey, I want to check you guys out now. And I remember Jake's father said to Jake, he's like, yo, I watched this guy the whole night. He was just sitting there mad.
Prior to the show, of course, with this being Warriors of Wrestling, nothing can go over without there being some controversy. We had booked the Fun Station, which was one of the few places that was going to allow us to run a show. And the owner, who's also named Joe, called up the boss and goes, "We got a letter. I'd like you to come see it." Joe comes in, look at this letter. It's a letter typed neatly, typed well put together, from an anonymous source that pretty much shits all over Warriors of Wrestling. They're a violent, drug-addicted company. Their fans are heavy drinkers. They will destroy your building. They have ruined buildings over here. Just pretty much trying to get them to drop us. Later we found out that it was sent from Midtown Manhattan, and the only person who was around Midtown Manhattan was a certain somebody going to jiu-jitsu school. You make the assumptions. So again, the controversy, and Joe was scared up until the day before, like, you think they're gonna let us run? You think that everything's gonna be okay? This letter scared me. But then come that show, Joe pulls out the letter during the pre-show speech and goes, "Somebody's trying to shut us down." And this is, this show, this crowd, because we packed the place in again, this show is the biggest fuck you that you can give to them. Crumples it up, throws it, the guys are motivated as hell. I also remember him crumpling up another piece of paper that night when Ken Scampy decided that he wanted to rebook the show. He brought it to Joe, and Joe just fucking walked off.
First Fun Station show, I think, is very different for me than it was for anyone else, just because I had to wrestle under a mask, even though I've never done that before. Reason being, I was only 17 years old, and I had to be 18 to wrestle in New York. That's one of the reasons why I came to Warriors in the first place. And since it was right before my 18th birthday that year, first time in Staten Island, I wrestled under a mask as El Spartino.
The main event that night was the culmination of the feud between the Latin Revolution and the Society Adventure in the first blood match.
Some things that stick out to me in my mind is definitely the SOV's run against Latin Revolution. I fucking love Rivera, I love Torres. We were doing a first blood match. We're there, me and Rivera on the outside of the ring. SOV are supposed to get busted open, bleed, lose the damn match.
And of course, in this match, something goes wrong because the first guy to bleed, that team loses the match. Antonio Rivera and Torres are tag champions. They're going over in this match. Either Cannon or Koloff throws him into the metal steps, busts his head wide open, bleeding all over the place. I know there's Koloff this, I'm sure he'll tell the story, but Koloff grabs Rude Boy Riley, who is James Riley, the referee, and he told him, Rivera's bleeding bad. He's like, he just hits him. He's like, because if the referee's down, he can't end the match.
I don't remember how that match actually finished out. All I remember is that point of looking in a horror at Rivera's head split open. Like somebody took an axe to his forehead. He's bleeding everywhere and going, son of a bitch. Now I have to hear Joey yell at me because somehow the goddamn ending got fucking blown.
The match went over great. I think Koloff got busted open at the end, and Rivera needed stitches.
I throw him under the ring. Get in there. Tell Torres and Karloff what the hell's going on. We fumble around, and to this day, if you look at his head, it's scarred for life.
But that's one thing I gotta say about my guys. They always stood on their feet every time. 2009, we're in Staten Island. We're drawing good houses.
Now we're in the 5 boroughs. Now we're running New York. Now we're a licensed company. Now we're in Johnny Rodz's backyard, which was Joey's ultimate fuck you. I mean, he had his fist firmly up Johnny's ass at this point.
When they said we were invading New York, I don't think they meant this.
Do the hammer lock. I do the hammer lock. I do the hammer lock, you turkey necks.
We just filmed the thing for the next show.
Johnny, are you here?
Yeah. Those of you who don't know what this is Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York, the home of the world of unprofessional wrestlers, the holy grail for that lowlife Tim Arson, the home for 10 years of Mark Gallagher, the king, from what I read of school shows. Sad. The home of the Musketeer. Well, Johnny, I'm standing in your home. What are you gonna do about it? You keep mentioning my name. Oh, the Joey B, the fucking Kaplan, the fucking guy, the fucking bullshit, the money. You're nothing but a scam artist. You're a joke. Your school's a joke. You promote ticket selling. You don't let your guys do outside shows. Why? You got talented guys here. You got Jorge Sanchez wrestle Minion 500 million times. Why? You don't know what the hell you're doing. You know nothing about wrestling. You know nothing about promoting. And if you mention my name again, well, I'm here, ain't I? I'm sure some of your students will talk shit. Maybe the commissioner will talk some things. Mark Viola. The guy looks like a 45-year-old construction worker. Let's put him in the main event. Oh, that's a great booking. I guess he sells a lot of tickets. Flex, the window of opportunity for you is closing. Wrestling's supposed to be fun. Why don't you come have fun instead of doing the same thing over and over and over again, and the same school shows over and over? Why don't you come down and see what the Warriors is about? You got my phone number, hit me up. I got a spot for somebody like you. Get out of this place. This place is a fucking joke. Your trainer's a joke. Roger's still here because he's waiting for Johnny to die so he can take over the school. That's a sin. That is a goddamn sin. Well, it's time for me to go. But if I hear some more, Johnny, I'll be back.
Do the hammer lock. I do the hammer lock. I do the hammer lock, you turkey necks. I do the hammer lock.
I think the thing with Johnny Rodz stopped being an issue. I think it still is an issue. It's just that we've surpassed him, and we've surpassed so many people. When Warriors wrestled again, there was so many companies out there. NWS, gone. Awesome Wrestling, that was the name of this. Gone. I think they did 3 shows, done. Garden State Pro Wrestling out of Thompson River, gone. Forgotten Championship Wrestling out of Brooklyn, gone. There was so many companies in Pennsylvania which were with G.I. Bear, another fucking buffoon that wrestled with a belt and sneakers, gone. SIWA, which was a backyard company in Staten Island, who got a license for a promoter within 3 shows, gone. There's so many. There's another ones that like NEW, whatever the heck. All these companies, excuse me, they're gone. Warriors Wrestling isn't on its way out. Warriors Wrestling is still going up. I guess I'm doing something right, Rodz, huh?
That we put the heavyweight title on Jason Cross, who was a guy that I'd known Jason for years, even before wrestling. And he was a guy who had so much energy, so much attitude. He can get it done in the ring. I thought Jason was the best choice at the time for a champion.
The Voice was a champion, and then Jason Cross became champion. Their feud culminated in a cage match.
After getting the belt, Jason also dislocated his shoulder in a match. And again, because he's a fucking warrior, he finished that match out. Even with him sitting there, his arms at his side, I mean, you can see it's not connected. And he's giving the Voice his other arm, saying, "Work this," you know. And the Voice is just stomping the shit out of the broken, dislocated arm. And we're all watching, screaming from the locker room, like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, that guy's a warrior. That guy's as tough as it comes. So Jason was the guy who I felt best represented the company at that time. And I was proud to book him as the champion. You know, the Voice was, again, the other guy on top. He was our top face. He was, while he wasn't the best technical wrestler, so to speak, and I use the term technical wrestler him very lightly, he was extremely over. The kids loved him. They wanted to buy his masks. They wanted autographs. They wanted everything to do with him because he was that larger-than-life character.
The Voice was a guy, I don't know his height, 6'3", lean build, thought he was the Undertaker. Wore a mask like Kane, so all over the DOI and all else, they nicknamed him the Nigga Taker.
And then you had Damien, who was also in the heavyweight title scene at the time, as kind of the veteran amongst them. Voice and Cross, not a whole lot of experience. And here comes Damien. Damien is, a seasoned vet of the Indies. He's worked all over the place. So he was the guy to kind of bring the balance between those two other guys.
The first Ultimate Survival, what happened was Jason Cross had shoulder surgery. He had his whole shoulder, I think it was his right shoulder, reconstructed. He was our champion. But unlike the other champions that quit on us, Jason Cross was always there for the company. He always never missed a show. He always was there. He always was there with the belt, and he always did everything I asked. I knew he couldn't wrestle. This was the beginning of August. I think it was August 8th, 2009. And Joe Miller, the commissioner, was bickering with Cross over at the beginning of the show. He stripped Cross of the belt. He said we're going to put it up for grabs in Ultimate Survival. 30-minute or 1 minute, the same thing as normal. Nick Saber, number 30 never came out. Nick Saber thought he won the Rumble. Out comes Cross, when I would have bad arms, he couldn't wrestle. Throws Saber over. Still a champion. And, me and Jake Jake came up with that ending. And, that was great because we needed something to do, and it kept the heat on Cross. He still wasn't ready to wrestle. I know he wrestled come December at the 2-year anniversary show, but he still wasn't 100%. But he was there every time. Jason Cross really did a lot for this company.
Damien thought he had some crazy TV deal in Iowa or something, some bumblefuck town somewhere, and he thought he was getting paid this obnoxious amount of money, and so did a bunch of other workers apparently.
It's like, why are we bound for Iowa, Damien? It's like, well, this guy is starting up a company over there, and it's going to be a TV company, and they're going to run pay-per-views, and they're going to be huge.
This one was definitely a little more well-received. Like, even throughout the locker room, we clapped for him in his last match. We had the fans throw streamers for him, because he's a big mark for that.
Goes out the right way, big hug, I'll miss you, good luck in Iowa. And again, I'm so naive, but there's something in the back of my head that's going, this is a crock of shit. Who wants to watch wrestling in Iowa? And again, talking to Joe every single day, it's, Joe, do you think this Iowa thing's going to take off? Fuck no! What's going on in Iowa? There's no one that lives in Iowa. Obviously, come the day that he's supposed to get flown out, it's the promoter's gone missing. So, Damien is long gone, not in the company. he has to come back. And again, him and Joe are friends, so he's on his way back. They're doing their thing. And in mine and Joe's infinite wisdom, which we now see is the mistake that we'll never make again, we gave Damian the ability to book his own angle in coming back. And then book the whole year of build until he won the belt back. So we had, I believe it was close to 9 months or a year where he was going to do this whole angle, come back, win the belt from Cross, you know, be the big hero of the company, the top face. And we did this for a couple of reasons. One, Damian to us was the company guy. He wanted to do everything for the company, wanted to help us all out, wanted to do everything that would make Warriors grow. That's what Joe and I honestly believed. And, you know, there's no skipping around that. Joe in his heart, I in my heart, believed Damian wanted to help this company.
Little did we know he was doing all this for his own well-being and his friend's well-being and his wife.
But we're still learning that you don't give the inmates the ability to run the asylum.
Creation of life, the miracle it is. To look down at your own creation must be special.
But there's one guy who's still around. There's one guy who just won't go away.
I come to your house, you always have the fucking balls. You feel like a man? You send your brother outside?
Well, Tim Arson, I don't know how you're still around.
Is it true that you're scared of that short guy that's gonna kick your ass or what?
You're a little telephone tough guy. You're tough on the computer. Look, you don't fucking come down there and beat the fuck out of you.
Fight me like a man. No more bullshit on the internet. No more bullshit anywhere. Just a one-on-one fight, man.
You're a loser, a little fucking cocksucker who doesn't have a family, doesn't have anything. I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful son.
On December 5th, no matter what I'm doing, I'm calling your ass out. I don't care where you used to be. I don't care where you were internationally.
Because the next time I come to your house like I did last week, I'm not going to use the little stuck double. I'm going to use the real Timmy Jr.
Maybe we can finally do this in a ring, where we could kill each other and there will be no problem.
He's mentioning my family again, and I gotta put a fucking end to this fucking shit already.
See you on December 5th.
Tim Arson, the zombie, pyromaniac, whatever the fuck his name is, he started trashing me on the internet, and this got bad. He started insulting my family. So his wife lost a thing on Howard Stern where she would have to get naked. My cousin found these pictures and we put them up. Like, fuck you. This went on and on and on and on. And then eventually we started talking again. Everybody knew that there was legit heat. Well, we built it to a match at the 2-year anniversary, and again, I put him over. And he said to me afterwards, he's like, you know what, not for nothing. He's like, you shut everybody up because you had me on your show. You put me over, where Rodz would never do that. So, but my relationship with Timmy is just rocky. Still is, and he could go fuck himself, really.
Year 3 started off with our show in Brooklyn. And this again, every year we were sitting there going, all right, we did Jersey the first year. We're doing Staten Island. Now, what's the biggest market we have the possibility to crack into? Brooklyn. Now not only are we in Johnny Rodz's home backyard, we're in Gleason's backyard.
It was January 30th, 2010. And they were filming a documentary on us. Sal Buccaleri came in. This is how Sal came into the company. And asked me, he's like, yo, do you mind if I come down and film? I'm doing a college project. I said, sure, come on down. And he came to my house a few times. This night, he drove with me. He filmed me driving the truck, and we got to the building, and it's such an awesome building. And the owner of the building came up to me, and he goes, all right, I need your insurance. You need the store, right?
Insurance deposit?
Yes, I got the car.
Okay, so this is before you look at it.
The insurance is $1,000.
No.
The insurance is my medical.
Yes, you have an insurance paper that names us as additional insured. I need that. And I'll need the $1,000.
It doesn't name you guys on it. It covers me.
No, that was the whole point, that he has to name me. That was it.
Okay. I can show you what I have.
It doesn't matter. The whole purpose of you naming us as insured, you have to have insurance, not, you have to name us as an insured party. Otherwise, I get on the horn of your insurance company right now. I call, because basically, if I'm not,
He's like, look, you can put your ring in here. He's like, I ain't opening this up to the public. And I was just like, what am I going to do? I called up Rock and Rebel, who was with the company in the early days. Still a good friend of the company. I love Rebel, Chuck. He's a promoter out in Pennsylvania. And this was a Saturday night, and if he didn't answer his phone, we had no show. I'm waiting on Rebel unless the show's not going to happen.
Why?
Because he didn't tell me any liability. His wife is supposed to email it. So, where's my gloves?
This guy dropping us this day?
He answered that phone, and I said, Rebel, I said, I need a big favor. I need you. He's like, I'll send you the money. Don't worry, I'm good for it. He's like, no, I know. He's like, I'll fax it to him. The guy's like, I don't have a fax machine here. I'm like, oh, gee, what the hell am I supposed to do? He goes, can you scan and email it to me? And Rebel's like, yeah. He's like, just give me 30 minutes, and Rebel got it. I didn't know. The guy didn't tell me we needed liability insurance. He said if I didn't have it, we would have been shut down today. Called up Rock and Rebel. Within 20 minutes, he got it here. So if you guys don't know Rebel, tell him thank you.
Yeah, guys, shoot him on MySpace or something. Say thanks.
But yeah, whatever your opinion is on Rock and Rebel, I know a lot of you guys know him. He's been here with us. He saved the day. If it wasn't for him, this would all be for nothing. So, all right, guys, listen. They said the New York wrestling scene is dead. They're right. But now we're here. All right?
W.O.W! 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 W.O.W!
The doors opened, and we drew well over 300 people. The place was packed. We opened up with this whole Warrior, from the movie The Warriors montage, In With Us.
The first show that I attended for Warriors of Wrestling was Empire State of Mind. Chris Banks and Dirtbag Dan told me to come check it out, and I came to check it out, and I actually got to be a part of the show. I refereed the first match, and from there I just sat in the crowd and just watched on, and I was in amazement. You know, I was completely blown away.
I've wrestled in places all around this country. I've wrestled in places all around this world. And every time I think of one of my most favorite places to wrestle in, it's the Brooklyn Lyceum. That is absolutely my favorite place to wrestle.
Personally, the Brooklyn shows, at least for me, are it's my hometown, so I know why I get a little maybe extra hyped than what everybody else. But I think just the feeling that the whole locker room gets with the Brooklyn shows is just a little bit different, just because it's the aura of the building. It's like it has a different vibe. It has the way the sound bounces off the walls in there is a little bit different than any other place. You also, I think a lot of the thing in Brooklyn that gets everybody excited is you have your own video walls.
That crowd comes and it's just magic. That crowd is so into us that you can't help but get excited to go out there, and you can't help but perform for that crowd.
The first Brooklyn Lyceum show, which I still to this day think might be just a company, in my opinion, the greatest moment in the company's history, because the atmosphere, I still to this day have not felt an atmosphere like I felt in that first Brooklyn Lyceum show.
And we had this Brooklyn show, I'm a Brooklyn kid, so I got a lot of pride in the show. And blow off of the Society of Venture American Nightmare feud.
Here comes my partner with a flat screen TV. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, we'll do the spot, blah, 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 go through the TV. I'm like, it's not me, I don't care.
And I remember being just nervous as it gets.
Both Karloff and I were definitely nervous for it, hoping that this did what it was going to do.
Because, I could go out there and do a death match with, Spartan and Lou while I'm green as hell, but now I've got to sit there and perform in front of this legitimate packed house in Brooklyn. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're wrestling fans.
I remember just beating the living shit out of Dan when he was in that trash can.
It's a match that I guess to this day is still considered one of the best ones in W.W. history.
Everyone was so rowdy, everyone was so into it. That one clip that you could see when they pan across the audience during the death match, everyone's chanting W.O.W. That energy, I haven't felt that kind of energy from the crowd, maybe not even since.
Because of just the amount of effort that we put in there. I mean, we laid it all out on the line, and we had the crowd in the palm of our hands the whole time.
Winning the No Limits title in Brooklyn, that was cool because it was like, I'm originally from Sunset Park, Brooklyn, a couple blocks away from the Lyceum, and I didn't know my family was going to be there. And I went out there, I had the JT, worst match ever, the first match with me and JT. But then later on that night, that's when I cashed in. And when I won that belt, I looked, and that's when I saw like my family was there. My mom was there, my nephew, my cousins, my aunt, my brother, which fucking never comes out. That was cool. Like that was probably my most memorable feeling. Even though I was a heel, so I couldn't really celebrate. But in my head, I'm like, oh, that was cool right there. Like when I saw my family there, it's different. I didn't know they were coming. They didn't know I was going for nothing with the belt.
Chris Banks, Mr. No Limits Chris Banks, remember the name Chris Banks? Team Green. Banks is one of my good boys, good friends. He's definitely been in the business for quite a while. He's been doing it since he was like maybe 15, 12 years old. I couldn't even tell you. He's definitely come a long way.
Not only as a person, but even as a wrestler, he's come into his own, he's matured, and he could really, you could trust him.
He loves wrestling. He loves Warriors of Wrestling. He's one of those guys, he pounds his chest and screams W.O.W. He will go to another company and have Warriors of Wrestling t-shirts and throw them in the ring and start a whole mini riot in the locker room. Not in the locker room, in the crowd. And he's definitely a great soldier for the Warriors of Wrestling.
I'll tell you one thing, on a personal level, if I'm in a fight, and there could be 100 people there, I know if I'm getting my ass kicked, Chris Banks will be right next to me getting his ass kicked too, and I love that about him. I never have any fear or anything when I'm in a bar or anywhere with Chris. That's the truth. Out and about, me and Chris, and like I said, we could be fighting. we get along. Somebody says the wrong thing to me, or vice versa. Somebody says the wrong thing to him. We know we can count on each other to fucking like, yo, let's just fuck this guy up.
Chris Banks is, I want to say, the king of the No Limits division. But in my honest opinion, I think it's time for Chris Banks to move up.
Cool motherfucker, bar none.
There's so many things that we've done. We went to the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is a famous comedy club in the city, and tore the fucking place down, literally. Chris Gethard, the comedian, you can see him on Comedy Central, got a hold of me, and he's like, look, you know, we got a guy leaving, and we want to do something wrestling related. We're all big wrestling fans. These guys were geeks, but they were really cool, and they invited us down. He's like, get about 10 guys. I think it was 10. And we all got there. There's a midnight show, and we walked like, nobody's going to be here. So we're all downstairs. We're drinking warm beer we found in one of the closets. Tony Torres walks in. He was coming from up in Connecticut, probably with some woman. He walks in the building. He goes, yo. He's like, there's a line around the block. This is a midnight show. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We went out there and did our skit. None of these people knew who we were. By the time we left, you know what they were chanting? W.O.W.
Well, little by little, as Damien was champion, you started seeing less and less of Damien.
With Damien winning the belt, Joe gets a MySpace message, and he forwards it to me with the headline, "Can you believe this?" And it's Damien going, "Hey man, how's it going? Just letting you know, these are the dates that I'm working for, you know, other companies."
Damien would start taking double bookings on the same day, and I just think that as a champion of a company, if you want to take double bookings and you know I'm going to be there early and be here by the time I have to wrestle, I think that's fine. When you're just wrestling for a company and if you get the okay from a boss. When you're the champion of a company, you're the face at the time of the company. You're their guy. I think that sometimes you have to give up extra bookings.
As soon as he wins the belt, I think 2 shows later, I can't make this show. Oh, I can't make that show. I can't make this show. I was like, you know what, fuck you.
And all the dates outside of like one in the next 4 months were our dates. So we're like, what do we do now? We gave this guy the belt, we gave him free reign, and now we're not even first on his list.
I called up Jake, I said, we're taking a belt off him. And Jake hates him, so he's like, good.
You know, how are we going to have a heavyweight champion that can't defend the heavyweight title belt on our shows? The guy we booked as the #1 guy in the company.
I think we had a show where he wasn't even on it, and I don't ever think it looks good when the champion's not on a show.
And I remember the night that He was supposed to defend against Karloff, who was one of, not the number one, but one of my choices as the guy like, okay, he could be the guy, he should take the belt off Damian, and then we could see what we do from there.
My vote was for BA. And Jake was totally against it. He'll admit it now. He was wrong, and Joey was right. That's his famous line.
I didn't like him winning the title and then quitting. I would have liked for him to have done the job on the way out, drop the belt. Because you lose, the title gets hurt, which means the locker room gets hurt. That means the next person who has to get that belt has to work extremely hard to bring prestige back to that title.
There was trust issues. A lot of guys felt betrayed by Damian.
And Damian the whole time in the back, because I heard this from multiple people because he wasn't going to tell me because I'm in with Joe, is trying to plead his case like somehow he was done a disservice.
And things didn't work out after that. And, you know, Damian got the ball and he didn't do nothing with it. And he left the Warriors of Wrestling shortly after that.
I was given an opportunity tonight, an opportunity that guys before me have had and didn't care about. Now, one of the guys who had this belt didn't come back to work. Why? Because it probably was too tough. The other one probably quit because he didn't get the locker room he wanted. I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about the future of Warriors of Wrestling, and it's me, the badass kid. I'm not worried about other people. I'm here to create my own legacy and put this company on the map.
I remember being told that I was going to become the champ and all the shit that was going on with Damian, and it was basically just time to get the belt off of Damian. And I was told that I was going to be the man to hold the title for a few months. I want to say 4 months until December where I had to drop it to Dark Side. Like I said, I took a lot of pride in it. I wanted to make sure that the matches that I was having were championship caliber matches. I wanted the fans to get behind me and to believe in me, which is why I cut the promo that I cut.
For 12 years, I've been told I was not going to be this guy. For 12 years, I was told I was too damn small to be champ. For 12 years, I was told I was wearing my clothes. I was told I simply didn't have it. This is a simple kiss my ass to you and anyone else who thought that.
It was a long road for me at that point. I knew I could be that good to be the top guy of a company, and I just wanted the opportunity. And then now I had the opportunity, and it was like, okay, are you ready? So I had to be ready. Luckily for me, I had some good opponents. I got to get into a feud with Abdul Nasser.
I could wrestle every match for the rest of my career with that guy. He's a great hand. There's good hands, there's bad hands, and there's great hands. He's a great hand.
Everybody told him that, you know, he would never amount to nothing and he couldn't probably carry the ball, but he did. And he told everyone to kiss his ass and he ran with it.
When I first met him, I didn't think he was very knowledgeable. Talking to him, he could put a real good story in the ring. You ask him anything and he would answer it for you. He was very, very knowledgeable, and I respect him a lot.
I love the guy. Not like that, but just it's always fun to be around. It's always a laugh. There's never a dull moment with BA Kid.
Really cool guy. I love what he does. And he's another person he'll tell you how it is. He'll be a man about things. You know, if he has a problem with you, he'll tell you right to your face. He's a stand-up guy, man.
I fucking love BA Kid. He is an absolute morale booster.
Since the day me and him just like clicked, like fucking right off the bat. Like I consider him more like a brother than a friend to me. Like that's my road dog right there.
BA Kid, awesome. He was definitely one of the first people that accepted me into Warriors.
I guarantee you, if you take a poll in the locker room of anybody who's wrestled this guy, they'll tell you, oh, I've had my best matches with BA Kid. They'll say that without hesitation, and that's how great he is.
A real true friend, in and out of the ring. And he's a guy that I knew would be able to carry the heavyweight title well, and he did. And he's a guy I know I can put against anybody and have a good match, and he does.
I was proud to be the champion of Warriors of Wrestling.
Who is the loved one? Allah. Who is Ar-Rahman? Allah. Who is Al-Mannan?
Abdul Nasser, I saw him start in a previous promotion. Very bad character. He was kind of green. His in-ring work was good, but his character was not there. Not until he came here to Warriors of Wrestling and he became Abdul Nasir.
Steve, another guy, personal level, we debate politics all the time, but I love Steve. And I respect Steve a lot. And he came to Warriors as a friend of the Latin Rev. And, he would hang out the locker room, and I always wanted him to come work for me because Tony always would talk him up.
When I came in, I was Camacho, and, just Camacho. I was a babyface good guy, not really much depth into my character. Joey B came to me. He and Jake put together an idea, and they pitched it to me. How do you think about being heel? Great. How do you feel about being Muslim? Ooh, I never had any thoughts of ever being that kind of a guy.
He got transformed into becoming a Muslim after supposedly he went to a jail or something like that. It's a funny story. I never saw that. I never saw the match prior to or the one after that. But I mean, it happens all the time. People always want to, believe in something, and apparently he did when he went to jail. It's funny.
When I saw that it wasn't just a regular, we're gonna turn you heel, be this guy, and go out and do it. They were putting thought into this. They put thought into the character, and the fact that they thought that I can do it was another honor.
Camacho brought a seriousness and a realness to it. Of this is him, this is his culture, this is his beliefs, but he's also going to wrestle.
I wanted to be that heel that people hated, but they took serious because they're afraid for the other guy because I'm that much of an asshole that I'm going to go in there and tear that guy's head off.
And I was, myself and everybody else was able to see what he's really made of, and what he's done here has been really amazing, and I love the guy.
The things that he did for, I believe, for Warriors of Wrestling, if anything, it elevated Warriors of Wrestling to the top with the whole Arabic gimmick and stuff like that.
I know they've had the Muslim gimmicks with the Hassans and everything in the Fed and TNA, but to be honest, I think Camacho did a better job at it than they did.
Steve Camacho did all right, but Abdul Nasir kicked ass.
America is a place where all things are possible. In this country, we rise or fall as one nation, as one people. We are not enemies, but friends. Though passion may
Who is the lover?
have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection.
We're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one
Who is Ar-Rahman?
will keep that light from shining.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
Who is Al-Mannan?
This country was supposed to be unified after September 11th, but what happened was the exact opposite. We got divided. But this country decided to outcast anybody who didn't think the way they thought. Anybody with a Muslim belief was a terrorist. And I, American, just like you look at me and you see an evil person. You look at me and you see a bad guy. A man who comes with a message of peace. My example in this country for you people is to bring glory to the syndicate. That world title is symbolic of this country. It means the world. The target's on me now. The Warriors of Wrestling title means everything. But I'm ready for that challenge.
We will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
And it's coming home to the syndicate. Want it? It's right here. Bring glory back to the syndicate. Kill me, pry it from me. Just come to fight.
Ask not what America will do for you.
Quote Abdul Nasir, Allah Akbar.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
So you got B.A. Kid versus Abdul Nasir in 9/11. This guy just cut a promo by that 9/11 mosque, the Ground Zero mosque. He just cut a promo on you there.
We went down to Ground Zero where they were building that mosque. I think I took Bianca, she was filming it, and I got a hold of Steve Camacho, who by this time is Abdul Nasir.
As I'm looking into the camera, I could see people gathering around the camera person, and I'm like, wow, I'm getting a little bit of an audience here.
And now the news cameras are coming over and they're filming him.
And towards the right of me, a couple of feet away, there was some real Muslims there, and they were filming, like they were demonstrating.
And then he's fucking hugging some Muslim on the street that he... I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm like, that guy looks dirty and you're hugging him? I'm like, Camacho, come on.
And I'm like, Bianca, just make sure you get this on film. And it was just so good, and like just the stuff we do that most other companies don't do.
This is another reason why I love Joey. He has balls, and if you have them too, he's gonna want you to try something that's gonna test him. It's September 11th. It's main event. The show hasn't started yet, but because of the nature of the event, they had to 10 count the bell in memorial to the victims of 9/11. They had the national anthem. Everybody stood up. So we had a nice proud moment with the crowd. The audience really respected what Warriors of Wrestling was doing. And then Joey said, well, we're going to play your music after the national anthem, and you're going to go out there and demand that the crowd be silent while you pray to Mecca. That, you know, out of respect to your religion and all that. I'm like, Joey, you're really trying to get me shot, right?
Abdul Nasir brings out the best of me, just because he makes you work, not hard, you work smart, but he makes you work that much harder just to get a reaction out of the crowd. And it was the most fun I've had in any feud.
We definitely delivered by having a great match that day, you know, and wrestling him, it's like we always deliver. It's incredible how many times we've wrestled and, you know, okay guys, go, you know, do what you do. That feud is my favorite feud in the Warriors of Wrestling, which means it's my favorite feud in wrestling ever.
As the booker of the company, you gotta think, you know, where do things go? When I put a belt on somebody, I'm not just thinking about, okay, how's that title reign gonna go? I need to think, you know, months, a year into the future and go, all right, what's the setup here to now get the next guy to that level? How am I gonna build that next guy? And who's the guy to succeed as champion? And at the time, the guy who I had in my head, and it wasn't just me, I mean, Joe, as much as he might want to deny it, agreed with me at the time. The only thing we could have done with Darkseid was give him the belt.
I don't think the company was ever really headed in the wrong direction, except for the case where Darkseid was getting the title. Not to say that Darkseid wouldn't have been a good champion, it was just the events leading up to Darkseid getting the title is what I was worried about.
So we let Darkseid know months in advance, like, hey, we're going to put the belt on you. Oh, thank you, man. I'm so thankful. I really appreciate it. You know, I'd do anything for this company. The whole spiel. And again, we truly believed we had this set.
Darkseid was here in Warriors, and he was making a good name for himself. I mean, he never lost a match in Warriors. The crowd liked him. But somewhere along the summer before he won the championship, Darkseid started to change.
He had been like kind of like, you know, the jolly fat guy in the back for the longest time. You know, not a bad thing to say. You know, really kind of chill, really funny. Everyone liked to listen to him. And then here he is just criticizing things about the company that he didn't do nothing about. You know, putting himself first on a lot of things. He'd show up to shows late.
The night of Final Solution where I had to drop the heavyweight title, you know, I pulled him aside and I talked to him and I told him, you know, this is your night. I was here to put him over and give him the title the right way. But I remember also talking with Joe before that and asking, are you sure we're making the right decision?
Put the belt on him, big hoopla. His first title defense against Jason Cross nearly cripples Jason Cross. And it got to a point where Joe almost weekly was like, we need to get rid of this guy. We need to get rid of this guy. I'm like, dude, we built him up for so long. What are we going to do? We can't just get rid of him. Joe's like, fine. The attitude better fucking stop.
Before Collision Course, he was supposed to wrestle Karloff. He told me he's not coming because he has to go dress up like some fake Kamala somewhere.
And Joe said, I don't need you anymore, sorry. I don't need a heavyweight champion that's going to be late. I mean, that was like some serious controversy at that point because Darkseid was close with a couple of guys that he had helped to bring in. And now all those guys are gone.
Before the show started, me and Joe Miller went out to the ring with his belt, and I publicly fired him and ran him down. And that was the end of Dark Side, and once again, without a champion.
My favorite moment was the moment where Joey B was standing inside the ring, and he had publicly fired Darkseid. He told the fans that Darkseid would not be a part of the company anymore. For me, it wasn't the fact that Darkseid was out of the company. That wasn't why it was my favorite moment. It was my favorite moment just because the whole roster was out there together, and it was a moment that we were all united. And we were united with the fans too. And it was the very first time that I felt like we let the fans in, and we let them know about the shit that goes on in wrestling. And just everybody being all together there and with the fans and the way they responded, that was actually my favorite moment in the Warriors.
There's one member of this roster, excuse me. Hold on. There's one former member of this roster that didn't respect me, that didn't respect that locker room, and more importantly, he didn't respect you fans. You see, for 3 years we built up somebody, and we put a belt on him, and we made a big mistake. Because the other day he told me, in a match he was advertised to defend that title against Karloff, that he was busy somewhere playing some bootleg Kamala. And I'm sorry to say, but you will never see that fat slob who's the dark side of this ring again.
Joey is an interesting character. And I say the word character in the most literal sense possible. Joey is short-tempered, angry all of the time.
Listen, this is the problem. Nobody's listening.
He could be a gentle, caring man, and he could be a relentless psychopath.
Joey's a hothead, and once beat me up in the back of a ring truck.
At first, I thought he was not a nice guy. The way he portrayed himself, he's a little short guy. He walks angry all the time.
Napoleon complex to the 9.
Oh man, you go back and forth with him, you never know what to expect from the guy. He's like, sometimes it's like he has his tampon on like too high up his butt. It's funny, it's like sometimes I feel like it's a love-hate relationship. You don't know if like he's on your side or he's not on your side, or he wants you to get better, or he's yelling at you, or he's being upset.
He is so fucking stressed. I'm like, what is this guy?
A lot of people say Joey B's an asshole, which isn't far from the truth.
First thoughts of meeting Joey B were, this guy fucking hates me, and I don't know if I'm really gonna like him.
So you know how in life, no matter what you do, you can do everything right, everything perfect. You think that you're at the top of your game, you think that everything just went very well, and there's that one person who says that you did something wrong, whether it be a screw is too loose or some kind of nonsense. That's Joey. He is that to me.
When I first met him, I didn't have a great impression because he was too busy with the show. But that's also the best thing about him. That's all he cares about. He cares about putting on a show. The second I walk into the building, he's already sweating. He's been there for I don't know how long, but he's drenched in sweat because all he cares about is making sure the ring is set up, the merchandise is set up, the food is set up. Everything's done because he doesn't want to have to worry about anything.
But Joey's a guy that I respect the hell out of. And I mean, I can sit here and fill a DVD with how much I respect Joe. And to simplify it all, this is a guy who, as neurotic and nutty as he is completely self-motivated.
He's a real good person. He helps a lot, and if he has something to tell you, he'll tell you. He doesn't sugarcoat things, which is good, and I respect a lot.
There's no filter with Joey. He tells you how it is. Sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't. For me personally, that's exactly what I want.
Joey B's a very good friend of mine. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but he's always someone you can be honest with, because he's going to be honest with you, so you might as well not hold back with him. And sometimes he'll always appreciate what you tell him, whether he likes it or not. He doesn't always listen, but that's Joey, and he does things his way.
I love Joey B. I respect Joey B. Do we agree on everything? No.
Joey B's always, anytime I've come down for a show, up for a show, whatever, he's always handed out his place of residence for me to crash in. He's one of my good friends. I have a lot of respect for the guy and love him to death.
If you get cool with him, hey, he'll give you a lawnmower. I know because he gave me his lawnmower. I still got it.
It's weird to say, but he's like a second father to me. He's in my turning into adult, he's been there the whole time. I've known him since I was 16 years old, and it's been a very close relationship since then. So I consider him a very close friend. He and my mother had a conversation with her thanking him for turning me into the person I am today.
He is everything, not just a wrestling promoter should be, but to me, what a human being should fucking be.
The boys are loyal to Joey, I would say, because he's loyal to them. That's the only way to put it. Not too many promoters are loyal to the guys in the back, and it being everybody in the back.
I would definitely consider Joe one of my closest friends. I would consider him an excellent business partner to have, and I would also say he's the biggest pain in my ass that I could think of. And Joe, he doesn't give a shit. He will say and do whatever he pleases, just because it's an interesting quality to have as a promoter. You never really find promoters that do that kind of thing. A lot of them are really, fairly well-mannered, will do everything they can to please as many people as possible. They think they're workers. They try and work everybody. Joe, he's not working anybody. He's an asshole. He's going to let you know he's an asshole. And that's why shit gets done here.
Warriors of Wrestling Center on Van Street in New Brighton this morning and torched it. The facility is not only a school, wrestling matches for charity are also held there. Owners estimate the fire's damage at $500,000.
It was a Thursday morning. I was sleeping. I happened to wake up around 10 o'clock, and there was 4 or 5 calls from my landlord, Gaida, the waste management on Staten Island. And he goes, somebody broke into your building and lit your ring on fire. I said, you sure it wasn't an accident? He goes, your belts are in the ring burnt. Our belts were in the locker room. This wasn't somebody breaking into a building just to vandalize. This is somebody that was coming after me and wanted to make sure they were known for doing it.
Seen the building, and I was in awe. I was just surprised this happened. I'm like, why? Who would do this? Why would they do it? Like, how can this? We just built this school. We cleaned it up. We just turned it from a warehouse into a wrestling school, and now it's in ashes. Literally, the ring in ashes.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's not act like we don't know why it happened, or maybe who did it. We know why it happened. It happened right after these guys got fired, and it was totally disrespectful to the company. It was. I really don't know other word to put it. It's bullshit and cowardly, and I dare any of those guys, whoever did that, to step up and come forward and get your ass kicked.
It was uncalled for. There's no need for that. There's no need. If it was gang related, if it was whatever related, you know what? For you to, somebody could have been inside, somebody could have got hurt at the end of the day.
Nobody deserves to have anything that they own just burned down over anything stupid.
People who have no future, no heart, no soul, no brain do something like that. And I just, in a way, I feel bad for someone like that. Who would do that? Because the fire was set by one douchebag. That's a troubled guy. You can rebuild, but that guy ain't changing.
All I can say is if they ever find who did try and set fire to the ring and the warehouse, then they should probably set that asshole on fire as well.
I don't really care to discuss who did it. I kind of want to send them like a thank you card, because we knew how personal it was, and I think to everyone in our locker room it showed how good of something we have, because someone tried to come here and take it from us. They put our belts in the ring, they put it on fire. We have those belts hanging. We've never forgotten. But the way the locker room got after that fire, we've never looked back. And thank you.
I was supposed to win the title from Darkseid, and this was, he eventually, that whole mess happened, and he wasn't there any longer. So I wasn't winning the title from the champion. So I felt another kind of pressure. I was given the title in a 4-way match.
That 4-way, I believe it was Full Throttle 2011. Karloff versus Cannon versus Sabre versus Abdul Nasir. It's a damn good match. Well, that's where Abdul finally won the vacant title.
Very proud to have won it in that kind of fashion against those guys, because I respect every one of those guys and I love every one of those guys. But I did feel an added pressure to carry the belt and to elevate the importance of that belt, because it was dragged through the mud by guys like Dragon and Darkseid.
When Abdul Nasir won it, it was like, this is the heel champion that we always wanted, and he did a hell of a job with that belt.
I was really honored. When you're given the ball, you basically, you know, the company's investing in you to represent them.
Jason Cross, B.A. Kid, Abdul Nasir, and hopefully now Chris Steeler, the guys that I'm proud that were my champions. Smooth Operator, Damien Dragon, and Lucifer Darkseid could all drop dead as far as I'm concerned. Me and Chris Banks have one of the weirdest relationships, personal, professional, whatever you want to call it, where he's been fired, he's quit, and he says the vice versa. We always disagree on whether he's fired or quit.
The first time I left the company / got fired, it was a whole incident in Maine where this is like how I really saw what he was talking about, because like we had a whole incident. I'm not gonna pull the other guys' names in it, but it was me and some other guys. And like the other guys, we were all booked in Maine the day before the W.O.W show. I forgot what show it was. And what happened was, I told Joe, and we were speaking about it, he's like, no, why are you gonna do that? That's like fucking 10 hours away. How are you gonna go that far and expect to come back? And I'm like, yo, Joe, we'll make sure. He's like, yeah, but you're gonna come to my show all shit and tired. And me being the prideful asshole I am, he threw at me, if you're gonna go, don't even bother showing up, because I don't need guys who are burnt out. I'm like, fuck it, so don't bother expecting me to show up. Long story short, I think I told Joey this before, but I'm not sure. Well, if I didn't, he'll see it now. All that shit he said to me about what if you get hurt, you're gonna be all tired, blah, 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 blah. The motherfucker ended up jinxing me. Because when I was out there, I ended up fucking up my leg. So even if I wasn't unbooked from the W.O.W show, I wouldn't have even been able to be on the show because my leg was fucked up from the main show.
The last time, he quit. And then he came in, he dropped the belt to Antonio Rivera, at least he did that. And that night he helped put the ring away, and that was, you know, whatever. And I was done with him. He was done, and I was done, and I was gonna leave it at that.
And then the second time, that was kind of like a weird, it was more like a misunderstanding in both behalves, because he took it as in I left, I took it as in he was firing me, and it was just, basically we were both on two different pages at the time.
He still came around to the shows, and he asked me to come back, and I said no, I ain't bringing you back. He told me times you can do this to me. And then, you know, he still came around, and he's still my friend, so I was like, all right, I have an idea. I said, we're gonna come out with Chris Banks shirts, which I designed. One of our best-selling t-shirts. And we were gonna do kind of like what the NWO did, where they sold them in the parking lot, and, you know, it wasn't supposed to be part of the company. So we were announcing that Chris Banks was coming back. I think this was Livewire in 2011. And we announced Chris Banks was coming back, and his t-shirts for sale. So we announced Chris Banks came out, and he was in his street clothes, and he started doing a shoot promo on me.
And we did it smart, like we did like the whole angle where it was me and Joey shooting on each other. And it's funny because you see wrestling, they do angles and shit. But if you look at that video that me and him are in the ring, we're really saying shit to each other. In the back, we're like, yo, we'll say what's on our mind, but just don't bring each other's family into it. And so I'm like, what's my cue for you to come out? He's like, oh, you know my cue. So I'm running my mouth, and I'm like, oh yeah, the owner, Joey B. Here comes Joey. And it's like, okay. Oh, that wasn't a word. That was just me and him really shooting shit. Everything he said was legit. Everything I said was legit. It was funny.
At the end of it, he grabbed his shirts and he went out. He goes, if anybody wants to buy these shirts, I'm stealing them. I'm going to sell them outside in the parking lot or outside the arena. And I remember me and Sam were just standing there, and intermission, everybody went out there and they bought a Chris Banks t-shirt. And a leader isn't something that you could just say, oh, I'm a leader one day. A leader is something that you're born with. You have to have leadership skills. I think if I was to say leaders in the locker room, Karloff, I think, is definitely a guy. B.A. Kid, Steve Camacho.
Easy. B.A. Kid. Easily Karloff. Guys like that. Karloff is definitely a guy you can go to for advice. Karloff is definitely a guy you can go to for discipline. If you need somebody to get disciplined, put him in the room with Karloff.
I'd have to say right off the top of my head, number one, Jason Karloff and John Cannon. Jason Karloff and John Cannon, they're take no bullshit kind of guys. They're straight up. They don't sugarcoat anything. They'll tell you right now if you're the shits or if your match was the shits.
I think a lot of guys in the locker room are leaders. A little bit. I kind of want to say like everybody in their own way. We've all kind of like, I say, stood up at certain points, and you can go talk to anyone in our locker room about anything you need help with.
B.A. Kid's one of those guys. He's one of those guys you can go to and you want a good, honest opinion of what you did. How did your match go? How did your interview go? He'll tell you.
I'm going to say Joey B is the leader, but more of the silent leader. I don't hear much from Joey B. He's like the Dark Knight, the watchful protector. You don't see much, but he's there. And you know that he has the leadership ability. Jake, for sure. Jake is somebody in the locker room that has leadership quality. He's the one who pretty much directs orders from Joey.
Good leader in the locker room is gotta be Jake. Since Jake was, a little kid, could turn on the television set, he's been watching wrestling and studied for a long time. He's got the heart of a wrestler, he's got the look of a wrestler.
Chris Steeler is a leader in the locker room. Always helping out. Always giving advice, always ready to take advice, always being there, for anything that you need and supporting people.
Everybody just helps everybody, which is, everybody's a leader in some way. Nobody just sits around. Like everybody, if they get a chance, they watch the matches.
Warriors Wrestling locker room is like family. There's definitely a couple of father figures, leaders of the locker room.
Oddly enough, Riley's somebody that I would consider to have very strong leadership qualities. I'm sure Joe is somewhere hearing this laughing his ass off. But the fact of the matter is, here's a guy, or a kid, because he is a kid, who, runs the ring crew. If anyone's not doing what they need to do, he'll get on their ass, he'll shake them up, he does what he has to do. And he's learned really quickly to fall into that role. And he doesn't let, anybody not do what they're not supposed to do.
I see James Riley's trying to step in, grooming, and I don't say grooming, trying to become that leader type thing. He's a kid, he's trying. How I met Spartan, I met him at Gleason's, a 15-year-old kid who was he wrestled that show. I didn't pay attention to him because he was one of these rookies. I was gone from Gleason's for a while, came back. So he would come into Gleason's to train, and I kind of wanted to help the kid out. So I always had him referee my matches and stuff like that, and we became friends. And he started doing highlight videos for Gleason's, which didn't even want him doing, which is mind-boggling. And then he did one for me and Jay with the wife beaters. I think he even did one for me personally, just Joey B. Me and Spartan's relationship has always been, I don't want to say rocky, because it's not always been rocky, but we see things differently. So when it came something happened with a web show. He made it and the audio was off. I'm like, yo, can you fix this?
And I guess at the time, I was overwhelmed with the stuff I was doing with Warriors, with the videos and the web shows, the DVDs, the website, whatever it was there. I had all this piled on, and I felt like I dug a hole for myself in Warriors where I was given a lot of responsibility that I didn't necessarily intend on getting, but I couldn't back out of it because I did it for so long that there was no one else to do it. And for wrestling, I stayed there all the time, and every time, I didn't really book around. But when I started, there were a lot of confliction with the dates and everything, and I just realized I needed to put more time into my own career as opposed to putting time into Warriors Wrestling as a company as a whole. Because it's two very different ways to progress a company and to progress an individual.
Next time I see him, he's telling me he doesn't want to work for me no more. It's not good for his career, he'd rather work somewhere else. Okay, Spartan, have fun.
Joe reacted fine to my departure. We never really talked about it, to be honest, even to this day, of how we felt right at that time. I think it might have caught him by surprise, but at the same time, it was kind of expected with all the stuff. I guess there wasn't really heat, but we'd get aggravated at each other all the time with all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
When Warriors Wrestling started 5 years ago, Spartan was a teenager, and I don't know anyone that could have taken on the responsibility that he was taking on at that age and could have dealt with it. And he did it. And if you work so closely with Joey B, there's a lot of shit that comes with it. And this kid was in the middle of it a lot of times, and he dealt with it, and he took it.
I can remember a couple years ago when I first joined Warriors Wrestling, this guy was about a 100-pound soaking wet kid from Brooklyn or Queens or wherever he's from. And in the little bit of time he's changed himself completely.
He's built on his body, which is good. His wrestling skills are amazing.
Absolutely unbelievable. He went from this awkward kid who used to do parkour and backyard wrestling and put it on YouTube to this outstanding shape, amazing wrestler who can go anywhere that he wants at this time.
Spartan has a passion that I love. It really drives me. It's hard not to be happy around Spartan. He's a good guy. He's a good guy to be around, but he also has a passion for wrestling that's really refreshing.
When he wasn't there, I missed him. He was always a great guy to hang around, be with, work with. His work ethic, again, is fantastic. He really is doing what he loves to do.
6 weeks later, Spartan wants to come back and work Warriors Wrestling. It's like, you know, I go back to where I said he's like my kid. It's like, you know, you tell a kid, you know what the obvious is. But I think sometimes they have to learn on their own.
I loved Warriors. I loved having fun there, and I didn't have that kind of feeling anywhere else that I went, really.
I knew that the grass wasn't greener elsewhere. I knew, you know, look, I'm not the easiest person to work with, but you get it up front with me. He was working for places for free, for hot dogs, for lottery tickets, and not like a scratch off. I mean, like, there's 30 guys in the locker room, they all get the same lottery ticket, so if you win, you're all splitting it.
I met him at the school one day, and I asked to come back, and he said, okay, we agreed, and we were going to work out something along the lines. And it was going to be, I come back pretending to help Nero and fuck him over, and then start anti-Warriors with the company. I get to be here, I'll try to take the company down, and personally I thought this was the perfect role for me to fill upon coming back, because I could take some real feelings that I've had, unleash them to get the emotion out, and I get to work with guys like Nero, who I've been dying to work with. I felt like we could really enhance the product with matches with each other. Even matches with Joe, matches with guys like Steeler now, who's an established face.
So Spartan came back, and you know we've done this great storyline, and I'm glad he's back. But you know, I learned from that issue with him. I'll never let my guard down like that again.
Storm Sandy is a strong storm alone, but she's about to get infused with 2 atmospheric players.
And the storm surge, it was mentioned once but needs to be mentioned again. 6 to 9 foot possible in those cities you see there. Atlantic City included, New York City included, Long Island as well. And then
this is one of the hardest hit communities in New York City. Thousands still without power, many homeless. 19 people dead. Overwhelmed by a violent surge of water, residents describe a tsunami-like wave as high as 20 feet that devastated entire neighborhoods. The water may be receding, but the frustration here on Staten Island seemed to be growing.
The 5th anniversary wasn't only a 5th anniversary, it was a charity show for the Hurricane Sandy relief victims, and I know the whole locker room banded together and donated their pay to a loyal fan, James Haynes, who lost his home.
5-year anniversary show, what they did, it can't basically be explained in words. I had Abdul Nasir come up to go here, gives me clothing. I had someone else give me a couple of boxes of stuff. I had Joey present me with just a little get on your feet. Everybody's like, I mean, I got a poster at home that I hang on my wall on Facebook. I've tagged every wrestler that I had autographed because every one of them signed it, that was there, was part of my family. It's one of the greatest things in my life. It was one of the first things I hung up in my new apartment.
The fans are the most loyal. They follow us wherever we go. No matter what, the weather, whether it's 90-something degrees outside and we're doing an outside show, they're there. Whether we go to Brooklyn, we got some Brooklyn fans out there, but we got the Staten Island people that go to Brooklyn and show up. You know what I mean? I have a feeling if we go anywhere, they're gonna show up.
They're loyal. They are. When I started Warriors Wrestling, I never imagined it would be, and we don't have thousands and thousands of fans, I understand that, not yet. The fans we do have, they're always there, and they're always in the same seats, and they're always buying the merchandise, and no matter where it is, they come, they call up the radio show, they interact with us on Facebook, they get our autographs, they take pictures with us, they know the storylines, they have an emotional attachment to the wrestlers. I feel very fortunate for the fans we have in Warriors of Wrestling.
The fans of the Warriors of Wrestling are the most loyal fans of any indie fed that I've ever wrestled for. There's no comparison.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Warriors of Wrestling's 5-year anniversary. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take a quick second to just say a big thank you to everyone in the back. My boss, Mr. Joey B, gave me the opportunity to announce to you guys. I love what I do. I love coming here every few weeks and presenting myself to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. And I know you're ready for a great show tonight. Let me hear you make some noise.
The new W.O.W. champion, Chris Steeler.
Perfect person to put as the heavyweight champion of our company.
I think Steeler has a total package. I just think he needs to keep his momentum rolling, to keep doing what he's doing. I would work with Steeler every day of the week.
He's the W.O.W. heavyweight champion. He has that look, that it factor.
He looks like a fucking wrestler. He can wrestle. He talks like a wrestler. He's very marketable. I like Chris.
He doesn't know how good he is. People tell him all the time he's getting belts everywhere, he's running every promotion, he's having match of the night almost every show.
That guy, he's awesome. I know him. I had my first match with him, and to see what he was back then to what he is right now, it's amazing. He's a future.
I just am excited to see where Steeler goes next within the heavyweight division of W.O.W. as the champion and the matches he's going to produce.
Warriors of Wrestling has evolved for me into what I feel is probably the biggest part of my personality, as lame as that sounds, as much as that makes me sound like a loser. Warriors of Wrestling helped to shape who I am.
It's the majority of my career, of everything when I think of in wrestling can be directed back to Warriors of Wrestling.
Warriors is not just a wrestling company for me. I don't think it is for a lot of guys, but for myself, it's home.
When I found Warriors of Wrestling, I felt that this was my home, and that's the truth.
It means fun, it means dedication, it means passion.
Warriors of Wrestling to me is everything I'm passionate about.
I wake up on my days off at 5 in the morning so I could load a ring truck for breakfast. Like that's what I get paid. I get paid breakfast, and I don't care. Like it's all the passion that I have for this business.
I've learned what it takes to be successful, and I've learned what steps you need to take in order to continue success. I've learned what hard work means.
I don't even want to call it independent because we're definitely an independent promotion, but we're so dependent on each other that it almost becomes not an independent company. We rely on each other, and everyone's there to help.
This is a family. There's not one person on the roster that I wouldn't, throw my fist for.
It's its own family. There's people I know through wrestling, and there's people I know through Warriors of Wrestling, and it's a totally different atmosphere, a totally different dynamic. Warriors of Wrestling is like a family to me, like a home.
Warriors of Wrestling is unlike any other promotion I've been around. I've got my friends in the South, and they're my boys. Up here in Warriors of Wrestling, these guys are like my family.
Everybody is such a family, and everybody just wants to take care of everybody else.
I meet some of my best friends, not only in wrestling, but in life, through Warriors of Wrestling.
Just when I'm out with fellow warriors, it's just like, all my troubles and shit that's on my mind is just away at the moment. I just told my family, and
it's my family, it's my extended family, my brothers.
Black, white, Spanish, male, female. We are one. We are one family. That's what Warriors of Wrestling is.
There's your family that you share blood with, and then there's your family that you bleed with. And I'm proud to bleed my own blood with Warriors of Wrestling, and I will continue to spill blood for Warriors of Wrestling till we're number one or we're dead in the ground.
And in a business where the indies fucking blow the biggest fucking donkey dick you could ever fucking think in the world, it is a truly professional, fun, and brotherhood in the highest regard you could ever possibly want.
It's the best company out there. There's nothing better. There's a lot of companies that have folded. We stand strong. There's a lot of companies that keep running shows and are losing money. We're in the green.
Warriors Wrestling is, to me, it is the premier indie fest.
Judging from the year I've been here, it's just constantly growing.
It's different than any other place. I think when you speak to Joey, you know Joe cares about you. You speak to Jake, you know that he's interested in these storylines and he cares, and everybody pushes each other to do the best.
Warriors is definitely top of any promotion that I've worked for.
Those letters, W.O.W. I don't go to any indie show where the crowd chants the letters of the company.
And it's all because Warriors Wrestling has, we have something that makes us stand out, whether it be our talent or our ambition or Joey's loud mouth or the radio show, whatever it is, something makes us stand out, and it's cool. It's cool to be a part of.
There is no comparison. Warriors Wrestling is head and shoulders above the rest of them.
Warriors wasn't meant to succeed. It was like a one-time thing at the time, and it wound up becoming 5 years later something that we have a core fan base to. And sorry, Johnny, where are your guys? Where are we?
I don't see us being able to go out there and compete with Vince or Dixie Carter's money, but I don't think that Joe set out to do that. Joe set this company out to ram a successful company up Johnny's ass for one show. 5 years later, I don't even think Joe loses sleep over Johnny. I don't think Joe gives a shit about Johnny right now. That doesn't exist anymore. What this company is to Joe and to the rest of us is our home. So, in 5 years, you make the home bigger, you make it stronger. You take out a mortgage, you do what you gotta do. You make that home your investment, you make it yours, and then you pass it down.
I wish I could fast forward to the end of the story to see where it leads, but I don't know if I want to fast forward because I think I'm enjoying living it.